Thank you. Senator Hickenlooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank both of you for being willing to subject yourselves to the questions and to your public service. Ms. Sweat, let me start with you. And as we discussed yesterday, thank you both for spending some time and being willing to answer any question, which I appreciate. As we discussed, Ms. Sweat, your experience focuses really on oil and gas. As you know, FERC's authority goes well beyond oil and gas, and as we discussed to a certain extent. As you I'm sure could feel from the direction of my questions yesterday, regional transmission planning and cost allocation, electricity markets are essential to its most fundamental, I think, some of its most fundamental statutory responsibility. And as we talked about, the reliability and the affordability, I think, are the two bulwarks. I could actually ask both of you this question. Unlike most other places in the world, our grid is regionalized and doesn't operate under a unified policy. Therefore, the oversight of FERC is essential. So I guess the question would be, how can you work to ensure the electric reliability and affordability through the regional transmission planning and the, let's just call it the market oversight, the electricity market oversight?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and I really enjoyed time speaking with you yesterday. I actually spent over half of my career working for electric utilities and transmission owners, and given my experience with them, I'm very aware of the competing interests that go into regional transmission planning. The decisions on the physical grid, also cost allocation planning, taking into account congestion points and all of the science that goes behind it. And FERC has a very difficult role as the federal agency tasked with ensuring that all of that is combined into a just and reasonable rate. So I am confident that if we really put our heads to it, we can figure out a solution that will ensure that American consumers pay a just and reasonable rate, given all of the factors in front of FERC.
Great, great. Mr. LaCerte, do you want to add anything to that?
Senator, thank you. And I'd like to note that's a $1 trillion question. And it's one which is not going to be solved here in 2 minutes, but I can tell you that it's something that I think requires very intensive discussion with all the stakeholders at the table. And it's a multifaceted issue, and it's definitely a challenge facing FERC today and tomorrow.
Great. I appreciate that. And Mr. LaCerte, I'll stick with you with this question, which we discussed a little bit yesterday, but I thought about it more. You know, the interregional transmission helps deliver the lowest cost energy sources from where they're generated to where electricity is needed. And oftentimes that's reflected in the cost, you know, where it's more valuable. This committee recently had a whole hearing looking at how do we meet demand in an efficient way. And we heard the transmission is going to be clearly needed to address the AI boom. Let's call it, for lack of a better thing, an AI boom. So do you agree that transmission across state lines increases the reliability of the grid? Right? In other words, that as we cross state lines, that is one of the basic methods to increase reliability.
Yeah, I would agree, Senator, that interstate transmission, when properly planned and executed, will increase the reliability.
Great. And then are there reforms in terms of how do we do that? And again, we touched on this a little bit yesterday. What are the reforms we need to make sure that we do that build out in the appropriate way?
Thank you. And I know we spent some time talking about this yesterday in your office. I think we need to make it easier to do business with the federal government. And by reducing some of the barriers to entry, by reducing some of the exclusion of the mid and smaller companies that can do business with the company, we're going to invite more investors to the table to invest in our grid, invest in our infrastructure. And that's going to pay dividends in both the reliability and the affordability of our energy systems.
Right. And is it your sense that we are going to need to expand our transmission capacity in order to address the load growth after, you know, given AI and all the other things that are coming?
Senator, it only makes sense that with increased load growth will require increased transmission, yes.
Yeah, I think that's basic. Ms. Swed, do you want to add anything to that? Either of those?
Thank you for the question, Senator. As a general premise, and this matter is under litigation in various stages. However, as a general premise, increasing the amount of transmission available increases the geographic availability of new generation to join the grid. As you know, high population load centers are not good places to build increased generation that we need. And if we have more accessibility across state lines like you're proposing, then that means that there is more flexibility for generators to use the specific characteristics of the land around them, wherever that may make sense for it to be in per the state's decisions.
Exactly. I could not ask for, we agree. Anyway, I'm out of time, as always. Thank you both, again, for your willingness to serve the country.
Thank you.